I'm Pat Cavanaugh. I'm the general manager of the Covington News. And with me is Gabe Coley, who is the editor of the Covington News. And we have with us today Keith Ellis, who is a candidate for a chair of the Newton County Commissioners, who was kind enough to come out and speak to us and, as a result, speak to the voters of Newton County. Keith, I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute or two to let the folks know a little bit about yourself, and then we'll commence to grilling you, okay?
All right.
Okay.
Well, Pat, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And to you voters out there that are looking, my name is Keith Ellis. I'm a native of Newton County, and I'm running for chairman of the Board of Commissioners. I would appreciate you considering voting for me. I believe that Newton County needs some strong leadership, and I believe at this point in my life, I'm at the perfect age and time with all the experiences I've had to do that. I'm excited about the opportunity. I've got a master's degree in education from the University of Georgia, undergraduate from there as well. I've been a part of the Leadership Collaborative in Newton County, developed the 2050 plan. I'm also a Kiwanian and a member of the Water and Sewer Authority for Newton County. I've been a small business owner. I think all these skills have given me an opportunity to be the kind of chairman that we need for Newton County. So I look forward to this interview. I'm excited about it, and I hope the viewers will be able to tell this is going to be a great opportunity this year to select a great board to represent them from now on.
Keith, thanks, Keith. And I guess our first question, and it's a question we've asked before, and I think folks in the county, some folks in the county have a concern on that. And, you know, obviously our form of county government changed this past year. Right, wrong, or indifferent, for right now it's changed. Do you feel, you're running for the chair of the commission, do you still feel that this is a full-time job that you're running for? And if you do, why? And if you don't, why not?
Well, Pat, I think that the citizens of Newton County need somebody to represent and be able to look at the entire picture. So for whatever reason, this present board back in October, I think, voted 3-2 to remove some of the power, maybe some of the responsibilities from the chair. And maybe people all thought it was a good idea because a county manager for a county this size is a great idea. And I'm for that county manager program, and I have actually met with the current county manager a number of times. I guess the real question is this next board, if they make a decision, it'll be up to them if they want to leave it alone, touch it again. If they don't, I think there's more than enough for the county commission chairman to do. The county is so large, and believe me, I've been campaigning on the eastern side, the western side, and I've been all over the county. I've been trying to campaign with everybody and seeing the needs that they have. I think sometimes that we need somebody who can look at the entire big picture to find out what the real issues are of the people and have time to go sit down with people and discuss those, and then take a step back and have an approach where I can work with the different commissioners from each district. I think sometimes maybe they got spread out a little too thin, and we just never followed through with some of the real important issues. So as we go into what looks like the recession is beginning to end, I feel good about Newton County. I think it's going to be a full-time position, and I want to have an opportunity to go to Atlanta with the General Assembly, build relationships with our legislators, our senators, the governor, to be able to represent this whole region. Really, as we look about four-county park, I think that's an example of needs. The county commission chair here has to build a relationship with the other counties as well. So those are the kinds of things that maybe the chair didn't have time to do before. It'll give me an opportunity to do it. I'm excited about the opportunities, and I do think it's necessary that it be a full-time position.
Well, Keith, one second, Gabe, but I think you answered all our questions, so we don't have any more to interview you and that one little thing. So we want to thank you very much for having me
on the questions.
No, I'm just, okay. Gabe had a couple questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
On that. Okay.
Keith, just to follow up on that, I think, obviously you laid out why you think it's a full-time position. Obviously, we've dealt with a lot of budget difficulties. Salaries are always a big issue. Mm-hmm. Given that the county manager has assumed many of the official responsibilities that were given to the county chairman previously, there was always delineated somewhat already that way, but a little more formality given to the county manager. does the position of county chairman still deserve near a near $90,000 salary, or should it be closer to $50,000, $60,000? What's your take on that, if you've given it any thought?
Well, the salary is not the main concern for me when I'm trying to do the job here that I'm excited about applying for. I really look at it as a job that I'm working for the citizens. And I do know what the published salary is, and of course I'm aware of budget constraints and all the issues that we've got as far as, you know, the tax digest in Newton County. So I understand exactly the question you're talking about. The position is a full-time position. I believe that there are some, maybe some state requirements for some of those salaries as well. So I don't know what the county charter has to say about that. I've read the charter, and I really can't find a specific answer. So
Sure.
I think, again, it goes back to what the current board has said, and then maybe what the January 1st board might do to that position. But I think it's a full-time position.
Okay. Are you open to discussions about salary and the role of the chairman? I think you mentioned at one point that you were looking forward to talking to the commissioners about the role of the chairman. I think I saw that quoted. Are you open to those discussions going forward, or do you have a stance on it?
Well, I've talked to commissioners that are in play right now, and I've also talked to some candidates. I think right now is not the time to comment on the specifics of it, but again, I serve as chairman if I'm elected. I don't have a vote in some of these issues. The 5 district commissioners are going to make the decisions based on what they think the appropriate salary will be.
Fair enough. Should the county chairman remain the head of the Public Works Department, or should be placed under the county manager, as recommended recently by the Newton County grand jury findings, which they hold as much weight as you want to give them. So everyone will have a different opinion on that, but do you think it should remain under the county chairman or under the county manager?
Well, as coincidence is, I actually visited the Public Works buildings yesterday down on Piper Road, and I talked to the head of the department there. I think they have 38 employees that do everything from scraping out roads, patching potholes, to picking up dead animals on the side of the road. So it's a myriad of things. He and I talked about the chairman's role, and I think that, again, part of stepping back and looking at the big picture might apply here, but those people do need some leadership. They need a chairman. They need somebody to come down there and supervise them. So again, that would probably require a charter change, possibly. I'd like to see if we can't make some progress on the roads and drainage. So I'd like to play that role from now on. I don't mind if the county manager has a strong role in the financial oversight of that. But I think the day-to-day activities would be more appropriate for the chairman.
Sure. And then with that, Keith, obviously that's one of the main duties of the chairman. So if we work on the assumption for now that would be the case, why would you have the experience to run the department? Or what would you say if someone says, Keith, or Mr. Ellis, are you qualified to be the head of Public Works? What would your response be to that question?
Gabe, I think that probably being a native Newton County, and I've driven on these roads for not 54 years. I've been driven on these roads, or have driven on them for 54 years. And I've seen subdivisions in disrepair right now. I actually put a couple of streets in, so I know about that process. And I'm proud there were good subdivisions that built out. But we probably need somebody who understands the process of paving and making sure that we prioritize those roads, because we really don't have a good grading system that we've completed for the entire county. They've started it. So we've got to have somebody that can prioritize, use a little common sense, and say, look, this subdivision has got to have some work done on it. So I'm prepared. I believe I have some ideas that'll enable us, through my expertise that I've learned on the job. I think we'll prioritize and we'll get some of the roads in better repair. If you don't take care of the house, after a while it gets in repair, and I think that's been the case the last few years. With
Absolutely.
budget constraints, they just haven't had the money to do some of the repairs necessary.
But you feel so you feel you have the practical skills from based on your past experience in housing and putting in some roads that you would be able to handle those duties.
And I think too, people management is a difficult thing to put your finger on. How do you really know that somebody's capable of doing that? I managed a classroom for 15 years, and believe me, if I can do that, I ought to be able to manage a crew of 38 people. and keep them on target and generate a priority list that we can know how many miles we're going to fix this year. And then how many miles did we fix? So I think that kind of leadership is important. I built some nice houses over the years, and most of the houses that I built were dream houses for individuals. They were contracts. And so putting together those kind of crews is pretty critical, and getting the right people in there and getting them in the right place. So yeah, I think I can do it.
Absolutely.
Keith, I want to talk a little bit about leadership. Obviously, and maybe not for some people, but for the last 4 years in our county government, we've had, I don't know if disarray is the right word, but it's been a constant battle of personalities. 2 of those people are gone through this election. 1 retired. Good people, you know, I think had the, we have no doubt they had the best interest of our county at heart, but there was a disarray and a constant fight, hence county manager, government, different things like that. What do you feel, we'll have 2 new elected people, and if you get elected, 3. What do you feel that you can bring to the table that can bring that together again so we can get about, you know, taking care of Baxter's and any other type of group that are coming to Newton County, we can put a united front?
I think Pat, that's a great example of what we've been talking about since the very beginning. I think a consensus builder it's hard to really get your hands around what that really means, but I think that, and I'm going to go on record, and I know that they'll probably agree, our board has been somewhat dysfunctional the last few years, and that's no fault of any individual. It's just been a divided board, and I think that I appreciate their service. Certainly all of those individuals that were elected have done their best, and I know they had the best interest of the county at heart. I do think, though, that reaching out to those individual commissioners and building a relationship with them, not the kind where you go eat dinner together, but the kind that you know you can call, confide in, and discuss things and help them maybe on critical issues, especially if it's in a certain district. I think it builds that kind of relationship for the future. And a consensus then is important for, let's just face it, we want the respect of the community that we're representing. And to gain that respect, they're going to have to see us perform in front of them the duties that we have in a manner where we're respectful to each other. We might not always agree. In fact, if we disagree, somehow we're going to have to find a way to get around that when we move to the next issue. So I think without building a consensus and being able to draw those people together and earn the respect of those 5 commissioners as well as the citizens, doesn't matter what we do with the 2050 plan. It doesn't matter about job creation. It doesn't matter about how many roads we can pave, because we're going to be pulling in different directions. So that's one of my goals, reaching out to those individuals. If I'm elected, they'll be hearing from me real soon. In fact, I've talked to several about these very same things. Reach out to them and pull them together and be nonpartisan, bipartisan, if you will, which is difficult to do during the election cycle. But January 1, we need to have those people know and believe that Keith Ellis is doing his best to pull people together and build a consensus where we can do all of the things that they need and elect us to do.
How about your leadership capabilities and leadership role in dealing with the Sheriff's Department, which is, you know, something we all need, obviously. You know, there's probably not one person you talk to who doesn't want better protection, but it comes down to either, you know, where are we going to get the money to pay for that, and how do you, and that's been a little contentious at times, again, over the last 4 years. What are your thoughts on making that a little better so that we have a kind of a smoother cooperation between Sheriff's Department and county government?
Well, I believe that about half of our budget is dedicated to the Sheriff's Department and public safety as far as their department. So just like with the fire department, those people are important to the citizens, and that's a service that we have to provide and provide well. I have a good working relationship with the current sheriff, if he's reelected. I've known him for a long time. And I've gotten to know the Republican candidate as well during this election cycle, and I respect both men, and I think either one of the citizens elected will do a good job. I think that we have to reach out to each other, and that's, again, going to be a primary role the chairman can play. When that sheriff comes up in front of us, I think we ought to know what he's expecting. I think we ought to have a good idea that all of the district commissioners have heard what he has to say ahead of time and that they've had time to think about it. Now, we can't give everything he wants, obviously, but I think when we say no, we'll say it in such a way that he understands why we had to say no. Or if we say yes, I think he's got some great ideas, the current sheriff now. I know that Mr. Bradford's going to do a good job if he's elected by the people. So reaching out again, it's the same thing. If we don't build a relationship, earn that relationship, he's got to know that the chairman is going to be there as a neutral body trying to get his message to those commissioners ahead of time so that they can deal with those things.
Do you, and one more question along this line, then Gabe, I'm going to switch back over to Gabe. Dealing with, especially again with Baxter, which we was mentioning, and you know, that I think I recently read that at least 22 industries have been talking to us, or around that number, which is remarkable, and
Right.
you know, that may, or at least thinking about relocating our area. The relationships sometimes we have with the counties around us, say particularly Rockdale and maybe even Walton, seem to be contentious at times for whatever reason. What are your thoughts on reaching out and saying, look, you know, what can we do to work together? Because we're going to have to now. If a Baxter's going to reach out further than we have here based on their very nature, what are your thoughts and what do you think? Have you had any discussions with any of the county managers and our county chairs in any of those counties?
Well, Pat, it's a timely question because new industries are looking at us all the time, and basically we've got one of the largest manufacturers in the world coming to us, $1 billion industry. So as a regional approach, you know, we're lucky that that Newton County is a recipient of part of that 4-county department. I've met with several of the commissioners from those counties and feel already through the Joint Development Authority and some others that they're ready to work together on a regional thing. Now, Rockdale County is not a part of that, but certainly they're right at our next door neighbor as well as Henry and Clayton. We've got to work as a regional look. Even our water resources has got to be looked at as a regional thing. So the industries, trying to reach out to all those. We're not going to be the sole beneficiary in Newton County to these new industries, but the jobs that they'll provide, the good paying jobs that they'll provide, are going to be something that all of us benefit from, again, pulling in the right direction. So if time allows, certainly I think Rockdale and all these other counties need to be looked at as friends, not adversaries.
Keith, to take a step back to going back to leadership a little bit, which we're still a bit on the same topic. I think that's one of the most important things that we expect from the chairman. I know you've talked about it repeatedly as well. I want to go back to a quote that came from from when you initially announced, and it makes sense. But you know, the quote was, "I think the majority of decisions should be reached prior to the meeting. We shouldn't debate issues at the last minute and have hour-long discussions." I've heard you mention a couple of times reaching out to people, you know, kind of individually, and just want to get some clarity as to how you think that relationship will work. You know, given that you can't meet in closed session, obviously, with multiple people, do you know, how will you build a consensus? Is it through work sessions, or is it through one-on-one conversations, or what do you see as just that important working relationship with fellow commissioners and the sheriff and others?
Communication is, Gabe, communication is the whole thing that you're talking about there. So it may be a combination of several of those things. I think private conversations between one individual, certainly the sunshine laws are okay with.
Absolutely.
And we don't want to do any backdoor politics. That's certainly not what I was suggesting. That was probably back in January when I made my initial announcement. I think that the more open we are with the citizens, I think they appreciate it. But I think, too, they know that there are times when private discussions are important. And I think the other part of it is the commissioners get a package that's made up every week that they meet. And I believe they get it on Friday. I actually get a package now so that I'm aware of the entire thing. There's an agenda that's made by the chairman as well as all the details. And I think sometimes, let's face it, the 5 district commissioners are working. And if they get it on Friday, they probably don't have as much time as they need to look at that and make decisions. And they may have questions, and those questions may come up Sunday afternoon. So actually, one of the things I'd like to do is see that package go out on Thursdays to give them an opportunity to get in touch with me, and especially if it's in their district, to be able to find out if a District 1 commissioner has a concern. I want, as I live in District 1, I want my commissioner to formulate his opinion of that particular issue, whether it's rezoning, whatever it might be. I want that district commissioner to take the lead, call me. I don't mind asking around and finding out what the feelings are. He needs to have an idea of how popular that particular issue is to them. I don't consider that backdoor politics. They're still going to be making the decision. The chairman has no vote in any of these issues unless there's a tie, and that generally doesn't happen. So backdoor politics is not what we're going to play. We're going to be open, but we're going to use every means of communication, and if we have to change when the agendas go out and the packages to help them have time, we're going to do that. We're going to serve the citizens of Newton County.
Absolutely. And to your credit, you had said as well that you do not want to engage in backdoor politics.
Right.
Just was getting clarity on kind of the working relationship there and kind of how you saw that happening. General question, but still on that same topic, because I think it's just important. You're a former teacher for 15 years, a home builder.
Mm-hmm.
Now you run a company where you perform energy audits on homes.
That's right.
Variety of experiences, but do you have the experience needed to basically be the chairman of a $42 million corporation? Have those things prepared you, and if yes, why? And if no, what are you going to learn to get to that spot?
Gabe, I don't think that there's anybody that wouldn't have some learning curve going into this job. I'm doing everything I can to prepare right now, aside from all the experiences I've had in the past. Like I said, I'm getting a package every week. I'm studying it. I'm meeting and going to the city council meetings of the various towns. There's only one town I haven't been to yet. I'm going to the Board of Education meetings. I'm going to appointed officials to find out their part and what they think the chairman needs to do. So as we evolve into a new group of board members there, I think that we have, as you said, the $42 million is a big issue. The county manager's taking care of the budget, as he really had for the last 10 or 12 years, quite frankly. But now the roles have changed enough that maybe that learning curve is not quite as strong. Let's put it this way, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and I'm going to work as hard as I can. Teaching in the classroom is a difficult thing. My hat's off to all those teachers here in this fine building that are teaching our students here in Newton County, as well as the others around. Doing the other things that I've done, and I think in some ways I don't ever want to boast about things, but in probably the worst economy of our generation, I've been able to find a new niche in this society and operate a small business again where it's successful and meet payroll, quite frankly. So yeah, I'm not going in, I don't have a cape under this suit coat. I'm not a superhero, and I don't want anybody to let me thinking that suddenly I'm not going to make any mistakes. But if I make one, it's an honest mistake, and we'll correct it as quickly as possible. So I understand your question. I'm confident, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
Sure.
Challenge.
Fair enough.
Keith, let's talk about economic development a little bit. We've talked, obviously, that's quite a stir and excitement in our county, thank goodness, over the last 4 or 5 months.
It's a long way.
Basically, the county, or the county doesn't, or the city, really has an economic arm, except the Chamber of Commerce, who has a full-time person now handling development that is funded by the county and the city. The county just recently turned down the request for an additional $125,000 to operate that and to go after more business. I mean, we all know that we're in dire straits money-wise, et cetera, but what are your thoughts on that, and do you see that being a priority, and if you're elected, would you feel that that would be, again, a priority to try to find money to be able to do that? What are your thoughts on that?
Pat, sometimes you make investments in the future of your community based on what you think the return will be. And I know our chamber is doing a great job. Many of those are businessmen and women that have done a successful business for a long time. And many of them are people who have been here for a long, long time, many of them lifelong residents. I don't know what the appropriate number is. I'm sure that when we reevaluate, and I believe at some point during this process that they've been promised that there'll be a reevaluation even this year, in this fiscal year. So as we take office in January, I think we're going to take a long, strong look at it. We want them to be able to, if they need to fly to California to visit with one of these companies, we want them to have the resources. We don't want them to feel like they've got to scrape and scrap to get that money. There is an appropriate number. I don't know. Again, that's one of those board decisions that's going to be made as a group. I think collaboratively we're going to meet with the chamber. I actually met with the chamber president a couple times, and we've discussed this. And I've told him that not only we're with him, we're standing in the gap with him and praying for them, but we're hoping for great successes in the future. So it's more of an investment in the future. And, you know, I'm fortunate enough I've served on the Water and Sewer Authority. And sometimes when we're doing a water line or a sewer line, we're not doing it for that day. We're looking down the road for it. So I think it's the same thing. If we collaborate, we get together on it and pull the same direction. We're going to find some money for them. The appropriate amount is something I think will be dealt with by the entire board. But needless to say, we're going to give them the resources they need to operate.
Do you, and since we're talking about money, I mean, I think it would be not fair to ask a politician in today's world this question. From what you've seen of budgets and what you've seen of this, do you, as far as over the next couple of years, do you see where we can keep us balanced, that we do not have to have a millage rate in Newton County? What are your thoughts on that? And do you see that, you know, that we can come within where we are? I mean, just what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, before the collapse of 2008 in Newton County, and we were hit hard in this collapse, as we know the housing market in Newton County, I think we were around 50 million at the time. So we've dropped at least $10 million in our tax digest. So right now, I think the biggest hurdle for us is trying to tip the scales of the tax digest more toward the industrial, commercial. One of the advantages that we have that some counties don't is we actually have 5 exits off of major interstates in the county does. So each one of those has an opportunity for the restaurants that we've talked about so many times.
And that's because possibly the liquor bar, if that passes, right?
Sure, and I'm sure
very
you're gonna
important
ask
to
me
do
about-
that. No?
I'm sure you're gonna ask
Well,
me
no,
about-
I mean, that's, I
Yeah.
would, I believe that I saw that you supported that. And so, but that's contingent on that passing, really.
Well, and that's this current board's
Yes.
decision
Yeah.
too, and
Right.
I think in the development knows is where it's going to be
Yes.
right now. But I think those are the kind of things that are important. But, you know, when we do get major industries like we've landed, and, you know, when we were there for the groundbreaking ceremony, all I was thinking was, I want more. I want more of them. I want more of these groundbreaking ceremonies. I want the governor here more often and the lieutenant governor. And I think because they know where Newton County is, and they've had a long-standing relationship with Newton County folks, I think we are going to see more of those industries come here. And so even in the light commercial and the development nodes and the 2050 plan, which I'm a big advocate of, really, I think if we're able to do that, we're going to take that tax burden away from the citizens and put that money back in their pockets. We still got a long way to go. I mean, I think the economy truly is beginning to show some signs of revival, but honestly, as we used to say when I was growing up, it's a long road to hoe right now.
So, but the answer is yes, is that what
I think yes. I
I mean,
think that's going to be the answer to the tax
Okay.
digest. So yeah.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. How
Sure.
about you, Gabe?
Keith, just a couple more. I think we're just about
Sure.
done.
Your way.
You're a lifelong native. You've
right.
been here for a long time. Obviously, Covington is a community in flux. We've had a lot of people who have been here for a long, long time. Many of those you probably know. At the same time, we have a lot of newer residents that came in over the past decade. At the same time, when you and everyone else were building houses, districts 2 and 3 in particular, as well as some, District 5 as well. What assurances should those people have who are new to the area, may not know you personally, may not have ever heard the name? What assurances should they have that Keith Ellis, as county chairman, is going to represent the entire county, including a lot of newcomers who have different wants and interests than perhaps some of the lifelong natives that have been here?
Gabe, we do have a diverse population. When I was growing up, we probably had 20,000 people, and I was probably related to a lot of them, although they might not want to admit it. And I do know a lot of Newton County residents, and I know a lot of the ones that have moved in. And I've tried to campaign to be all-inclusive. This big, diverse group of people, some have migrated from other counties, some have settled from up north, I suppose, job location, relocation. You know, we want them to have the services. We want the quality of life to be the same for them as it is for the residents that have been here as long as I have. I don't think that their idea of quality of life is that much different from what ours are. I think that, you know, they want us to protect the environment, the water resources that we're so blessed with. I think they want to be able to feel like they're safe, as we talked about earlier, you know, with fire protection and the police departments. I think they want, their wants and needs are just like anybody else. They're busy, they're working, they're going to ball practice, they're worshiping. That's no different from us. And I want them to be assured that we'll take care of the business day to day, because I think that's what they elect us for. I think they want to believe that the people, and I'm not a politician yet, by the way, the people who are elected, the politicians that they elect, are going to do the right thing when they're not looking, because most of the time they're preoccupied with their daily activities. So, Gabe, the answer to your question is that we're going to serve with integrity and honesty, and we're going to make them as proud as we can, and we want them to believe that their politicians are doing the right thing.
I do have one more when you finish.
Absolutely. Oh, well, go ahead, Val. I'll end it.
Yeah, I as Gabe found out, I never finish when I say one, so I apologize. But I think this is an important question because it's going on now, and you might not have an opinion on. That's fine. What are your thoughts on the Bear Creek Reservoir project? That's back up again and a hot issue, and you know, we have a lot of people that don't like it, and some, you know, that do, and you know.
And to jump in, there have been some questions about the cost of the project. Is the $16 million cost still accurate? Are the original estimates done on water usage and need in the future years still accurate, given the growth projections have slowed down? So people are questioning. I think there are multiple issues there. I'm not sure, again, Keith, where you stand on that, but just to jump in, Pat. On
no,
those,
that's fine. I just, and you may not have had, you know. It's up, you know, it's your answer. That's a free one for you, okay?
Well, I'll go ahead and make some comments, because being on water and sewer, we know a lot of facts about what's going on, and we know our customer base and how much water we need every day. I think, again, it's an investment in the future, and this current board had on their agenda last night, they were going to address that in their open session. And we know about the governor's offer from GFA about the good financing rates. We've heard about that and how long it's going to be stretched out, and quite frankly, the governor is very much in favor of that reservoir. I think that this board is probably going to make most of the decisions based on financing. However, I'm sure that when it comes time for the next board, and if I'm part of that, to take office, we're going to look at those costs again to see if they're still legitimate. Some of the ones it's been compared to, I think, not really good comparisons. Some of the reservoirs that have been built have had concrete dams. This is going to be an earthen dam. Now, we are going to drive across it. It's going to be Henderson Mill Road. We're not going to do any of the facilities right now that would require for the water withdrawal, except maybe I hope they'll put in the pipe work, just the structure that's necessary, the infrastructure that's necessary, but won't be treating any water. But it may be a recreational lake for just a short period of time. But I think the long-term investment is worthwhile. We got 3 large rivers in Newton County. Most people don't have one. We have potentially 2 reservoirs now. Most people don't have any. So I think the Bear Creek Reservoir is one of those things that we've got to invest in. I'm not a lake expert. I'm going to have to depend on what others tell us. But I have heard some estimates that, and there are a lot of people who fear that those estimates might not be accurate. I think we need to revisit them. And I think we'll be doing that as a board. And I hope whoever is in charge of the county decision making at the time is always going to take a long look and do their homework. And again, it's for the taxpayers and our future, our kids, our grandkids.
Okay, thanks.
Let's end with a general question. We talked about Baxter coming to Stanton Springs. We touched on some things like Bear Creek. Obviously, in this economic environment, a lot of people are just saying, let's do the fundamentals, keep the budgets down. But to give you a brief chance to kind of look ahead a little bit, what other opportunities do you see Newton County having to move forward outside of Stanton Springs, which I think is a great gem? Just anything else that you kind of see? We talk about opportunities and threats and the SWOT test, but what else do you see kind of opportunities for Newton County's future and what it could hold in the next 4 years?
Well, again, we sometimes focus on Stanton Springs, but remember we have an industrial development authority that's working hard on the north side of the county to bring in industry, and sometimes it's not those big companies that catch all the attention. Sometimes it's the smaller companies that hire people and are willing to pay a better wage. Our per capita income in Newton County is regionally, I think there's 12 in our region, 12 counties. We're at the very bottom. Statewide, we're below the state average in per capita income. So I think the chances of making those incomes increase with places like this and Quick Start out at Stanton Springs, with the 2 colleges we've got here, with the technical school we got here, the opportunities for people to have lifelong learning, to improve their lifestyle and their quality of life through income is going to be a positive thing. And I think Newton County has so many resources that other places don't have. I mean, as I said, I-20 is an economic boom in itself. It's going to bring in traffic. And so if somebody just stops along their travels to eat, it's bringing in tax revenue. I think that Newton County is a gem. We have a lot of things that are going to attract residents in the future. It did before, so I don't have any reason to believe they're not going to stop in Newton County and settle and raise their families here again. And, so we have several other options other than just Stanton Springs to make people think that Newton County is a pleasant place for them to live and work and worship.
Fair enough. And Keith, having said that, I guess we'll leave it back in your lap. Just to finish off, that's all the questions we had. We appreciate you stopping by. Give us just kind of your closing thoughts, and I guess the theme there, why you're the best choice for chairman, and just finish us off.
Okay. Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity and having sit in front of the camera here and talk to those folks out there that are listening. You got to decide in a few weeks. I believe it's like 35 days from now, in this tape date. You're going to have to decide who you want in leadership. I appreciate you considering me. In general, we want to build a better Newton County. That's kind of been our theme song since a year and a half ago when I decided to seek this office. In order to build a better Newton County, we got to have leadership, quality, solid leadership, ones that we know are honest doing it. I'd appreciate your vote and thought about as far as my leadership. I think I have a clear vision for Newton County as well. We've got an opportunity here as we go forward in the next few years, as we're coming out of probably one of the most terrible recessions we've seen, to look at that vision and pull in the same direction. And then as we look about the money that the people give us in their tax digest, whether it's when they're buying things, the sales tax, or whether it's the property tax, we're going to make the very best use of that money. We're going to be good stewards with that money. We're going to take a long look at how we spend every dime, and I want to assure the citizens out there that even though these are difficult times, we're going to prioritize, and we're going to take every opportunity to study before we make any strategic decision with your money. So I appreciate your vote. I'm Keith Ellis, and I'm running for chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
And just to finish off, we encourage everyone to go vote November 6th. Early voting starts October 15th, so please get out there and vote, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for